Theo walked through the quiet alien market, his boots pressing into soft blue soil. The twin suns above the colony were setting, casting long shadows over strange buildings shaped like shells and stars. It was peaceful, almost too peaceful. He held his scanner close, moving between stalls, searching for any signs of illegal tech or hidden threats. His mission was clear. Patrol Sector 12. Watch for rebel activity and report back. But something felt strange today. The air was too still, and his heart wouldn't calm down. He couldn't explain it, but something was waiting for him. Just around the corner, Theo stopped at a corner near a stall selling glowing fruits. He turned his head and froze. Standing a few meters away was a tall alien woman, wrapped in a silver cloak. Her skin was pale like moonlight, and her eyes, they sparkled like stars, golden and deep, just like the ones he used to see in his dreams. She stared directly at him. There were hundreds of people in the market, but for some reason, she only saw him. Then she stepped forward slowly, her voice soft like a whisper, but clear in the silence. "Do you recognize me, human?" she asked. "I'm your childhood neighbor." Theo's mind stopped. He didn't know what to say. A childhood neighbor? That was impossible. He grew up on Earth, in a small street with dusty roads and willow trees. His neighbor back then was a quiet girl with big eyes who always wore a hoodie. She used to bring him small rocks she found in the garden. Then one day, she vanished. No one knew where she went, and the government said she moved away. But those eyes, those golden eyes, were unforgettable. Could this alien woman really be her? Theo opened his mouth to speak, but she turned and walked away, disappearing into the crowd like smoke. He rushed after her, pushing past merchants and shoppers. But when he turned the next corner, she was gone. That night, Theo sat in his small bunk, staring at an old photo in his hand. It showed him as a kid, sitting under a willow tree with a girl beside him. She wore a hoodie, but her eyes were bright, even in the photo. He remembered her name now, Naya. He hadn't spoken that name in years. Suddenly, his cum buzzed. A message blinked on screen. With no ID attached, it only said one thing: "Look where the trees used to grow." Theo stood up quickly, his heart pounding. There were no trees in the colony, except one. An old Earth-style tree planted by settlers as a memory of home. He had seen it in the Garden District, always alone, always quiet. He grabbed his jacket and left his bunk, ignoring the rules. His boots echoed in the hall as he walked quickly through the base. Lights flickered above, and shadows danced beside him. The silence felt heavier than usual, like someone or something was watching. When he reached the garden zone, the sky was dark. One pale moon hung overhead. There, in the center, stood the tree, and under it was her Nia. She stood still, her silver cloak glowing in the moonlight. She looked exactly like she did in the market, but this time she smiled, a real sad smile, like someone who had waited too long for something they thought would never come. "You came," she whispered. Theo stepped closer, still unsure, still full of questions. "Is it really you?" he asked. "Yes," she said. "You used to give me half your sandwich at school, remember?" He did remember. His hands were shaking. "How are you here?" he asked. "You disappeared." "I was taken," she replied. "Not by choice." Theo felt a chill run down his spine. "By who?" She looked at the sky, then back at him. "By the same people you now work for." He stepped back, confused. Naya held up a necklace. It was made from small earth pebbles, smooth and gray. "The ones from your garden," she said softly. "I kept them." Theo didn't know what to believe, but deep inside, he felt something awaken, a memory, a bond, and one burning question. Why had she returned now? Theo couldn't sleep that night, even with the lights off and the base quiet. His mind kept spinning. The image of Naya under the tree wouldn't leave him. Her voice still echoed in his ears, gentle and sad. "You used to give me half your sandwich." He remembered more now, the old neighborhood. The way Naya always stayed quiet during games, how she never took off her hoodie. and how the other kids said she was weird, but Theo didn't care. She was kind, and he liked her, but... Then came the day when men in black suits came to the neighborhood. Theo remembered flashing lights, loud voices, and then Naya was gone. No goodbye, no answers, just silence. And parents whispering that her family had moved far away. Now she was back, not as a girl hiding in a hoodie, but as a grown alien beauty with glowing eyes, and she said the same people Theo now worked for were the ones who took her. He sat up in bed, breathing hard. He needed answers, real answers, not just from Naya. He needed proof. Theo pulled out his tablet and connected to the restricted base database. His rank gave him access to most public files, but not the deep ones still. He knew how to bypass the filters. He typed, Earth Missing Children Records, 40 years ago. Then added, Project Homebound. The results came slowly, dozens of files, most sealed or marked deleted. But one file blinked open after a few tries. Inside was a list of names. Children taken from Earth orphanages and foster homes. A few were marked with notes. Subject transferred to hybrid program. And one name hit him like lightning. Naya C. Female. Age 8. Theo stared at it for a long time. It was real. She hadn't moved. She'd been taken like property. Suddenly, a loud knock hit his door. He jumped, shut off the screen, and opened the door slowly. It was his teammate, Jared. Hey, Jared said, rubbing his eyes. You okay? You've been up all night. I'm fine. Theo lied. You sure? Jared asked. Command's acting weird today. High alerts, more patrols. Theo nodded, trying to act normal. But inside he was burning with a question. Was Command searching for her too? That evening, Theo returned to the tree. He waited under the pale moonlight, just like the night before. And again, she came. Naya walked toward him slowly, her silver cloak fluttering in the soft wind. You found the files, didn't you? She asked without looking at him. Theo didn't answer right away, but she already knew. I was part of a test, she said. One of many. They used children. Theo said, voice low. They used you, Naya nodded. They said it was for peace, she whispered. But they lied. She sat under the tree and placed her hands in the dirt. I come here because this tree is the only thing that feels like home, she said. They planted it here after Earth signed the alien treaties. I visit it every year. Theo sat beside her. His heart felt heavy. I don't understand why you came to me, he said. You remembered me, she answered, when no one else ever did. Theo looked into her glowing eyes. He still couldn't believe she was real, but her pain was real, her voice, her memories, the necklace, all real. You're in danger, aren't you? He asked. Yes, she said. They found me. Theo felt cold. They'll come for you, he said. They'll try to make you disappear again. That's why I need help, she whispered. Yours. Theo's hands clenched. He didn't know what to do. If he helped her, he'd become a traitor. But if he didn't, she would vanish again, this time forever. Naya stood up and placed something in his hand. It was a small glowing chip. What's this? He asked. Proof, she said. Of everything. She turned to walk away again, but this time she looked back. You once said you'd protect me, she said softly. Did you mean it? Theo stared at the chip, then at her fading figure. The stars above seemed to watch in silence, and he knew whatever happened next would change everything. Theo didn't report for duty the next morning. Instead, he sat in the corner of a supply storage room, staring at the glowing chip in his palm. It pulsed faintly with a soft blue light. Like it was alive, he had turned off all signals from his ID badge and rerouted his location beacon. One mistake, and Command would know he was hiding something. He took a deep breath and connected the chip to his private console. The screen blinked once, then opened a hidden directory. Lines of data began to scroll. Names, ages, DNA codes. Files stamped, Project Homebound, level red. Children, not soldiers. Dozens of them, all gone, all forgotten. But one file was different. It had video. Theo hesitated, then pressed Play, a blurry recording began. A girl sat in a white room with smooth walls. She looked about 8 years old, with golden eyes and pale skin. Theo's heart skipped. It was Naya. A voice spoke from off-camera. Subject 7C, please state your name. The little girl looked up. My name is Naya, she said softly. Can I go home now? The video stopped. Theo's fingers tightened into fists. He had seen enough. Outside the supply room, boots marched past. Voices echoed in the hallway. Something was wrong. The base was on high alert. Theo shut off the screen and hid the chip. Inside his boot, he needed answers, but not just from old data. He had to talk to someone who knew, someone on the inside. 2 hours later, Theo slipped into the old research wing of the base. Most of the labs were shut down years ago, but he knew one man still worked there. Dr. Carroll, a quiet, tired scientist who never smiled, but he had clearance levels above anyone on base. Theo knocked once on the office door, then entered. Dr. Carroll looked up from his terminal. Private Theo, he said, raising an eyebrow. Shouldn't you be on patrol? I need to ask you something, Theo said quickly. Carroll folded his arms. This better be worth the risk. Theo reached into his boot and placed the chip on the table. Carroll's expression changed instantly. He stared at the chip like it was a ghost. Where did you get this? He whispered. Answer my questions first, Theo said, voice steady. Who is Naya? Dr. Carroll sat down slowly. He didn't speak for a long moment. Then he sighed. She was part of a genetic trial, he said quietly. A child born with mixed DNA, a human and alien. She was supposed to be destroyed. But someone kept her alive. Theo's jaw tightened. You turned children into test subjects. Carroll nodded slowly, regret in his eyes. We believed it would end wars, build peace, he said. We were wrong. Theo leaned closer. They're trying to erase her, he said. She's in danger. Carroll looked at the door nervously. You don't understand, he said. It's bigger than her. What do you mean? Theo asked. Carroll opened a hidden drawer and pulled out a black folder. Inside were satellite images, DNA graphs, and a report labeled Phase 2 Hybrid Termination Plan. Theo read the first line and felt his blood go cold. All remaining subjects to be tracked and eliminated before public discovery. She's not the only one, Carroll whispered. There are others scattered across the stars, and Earth wants them all gone. Theo grabbed the folder. I'm getting her out of here, he said. Carroll stood, his face pale. If you do this, you're a traitor. No, Theo said, walking to the door. I'm human. That night, Theo met Naya again under the willow tree. She stood silently, her eyes reflecting the moon. I found your file, Theo said, handing her the folder. She took it without a word. There are others like you, he said. Earth wants them dead. I know, she replied softly. That's why I came back. Theo frowned. You came back to die? No, she said, looking at the stars. To wake someone up. Theo didn't speak. The truth was bigger than he thought. Naya wasn't just a memory or a friend from his past. She was a key to something Earth didn't want anyone to remember. We need to leave, Theo said. Not yet, she replied. Tomorrow. I'll show you something. Something that will change everything. Asterisk Theo waited near the garden zone the next evening, heart pounding like war drums. Every passing second felt heavier, filled with silent questions and fear he couldn't shake. He had broken orders, stolen files, and lied to his commanding officer. But the moment he saw Naya again, standing beneath the willow tree, he felt calm. She wore no cloak this time. Her silver skin shimmered under the soft moonlight. Golden patterns glowed faintly across her arms, like rivers of stardust running through her body. But her eyes, those eyes still held the same sadness he remembered from childhood. Follow me, she said without waiting for a greeting. Theo obeyed without question. They moved silently through the garden zone, slipping past sensor lights and motion detectors. She walked like a shadow, graceful and quiet. Theo couldn't help but feel she belonged more to the stars than to any planet. After several minutes, they reached a sealed door marked, "Research Classified." Naya placed her palm on a hidden panel, to Theo's shock. The door opened with a soft click. "You have access?" He whispered. "I used to live here," she said. "This was my prison." Inside was a long corridor filled with dust and broken lights. The air smelled like rust and forgotten memories. Theo followed her past glass rooms with metal chairs and glowing tables. In one corner, he saw a small room with a child-sized bed and a cracked mirror. "This was mine," Naya whispered, her fingers brushing the doorway. Theo looked inside. Drawings still hung on the wall, stars, trees, and a boy with brown hair. He realized she had drawn him. Again and again, even as a child, she had remembered. "Him, I was just a test to them," she said. "They took my blood, my memories, even my dreams. But they couldn't take you." Theo stepped closer. He reached out and gently touched her hand. For a moment, everything around them stopped. No sound, no fear, no war. Just a soft connection between two lives torn apart by something bigger than both. Images flashed in his mind, not his own. Running through a hallway, crying, calling his name. Pain in her arms from needles. Locked doors, the smell of cold metal. Loneliness, years of it. Her touch shared everything, every wound. Every moment she had been alone. Theo gasped and pulled his hand back, breathing heavily. "I didn't know," he whispered. "I didn't want you to," Naya replied, her voice breaking. "I only wanted to see you again. As me, not as a monster." "You're not a monster," Theo said firmly. "You're the bravest person I've ever met." Suddenly, a warning light blinked red above the door. An alarm began to hum softly. "They found us," Theo said, grabbing her hand. "No," Naya said calmly. "They triggered it." She turned and led him deeper into the hallway, at the far end. She opened another door, this one larger, colder. Inside was a machine unlike anything Theo had ever seen. A tall glass tube, wires wrapped around it like vines. Floating inside was a glowing sphere, pulsing with light. "This is why they kept me alive," Naya said. "My body carries ancient energy, part of a forgotten alien race. They used it to power this." "What is it?" Theo asked. "It's a memory engine," she said. "It stores all the minds, voices, and dreams of my kind." Theo stared at the sphere, hypnotized by its soft glow. "Why show me this?" "Because it's dying," she said. "And with it, my people's truth will vanish. I need to protect it." She added, "But I can't do it alone. If we get caught, they'll destroy it, and me with it." Theo clenched his jaw. "This base has a shuttle pad," he said. "We can sneak it out." She looked at him, eyes wet but steady. "Are you sure?" He nodded. "I made a promise under a willow tree, remember?" Suddenly, a voice echoed through the hallway. "Private Theo, you are ordered to surrender immediately." Theo froze. It was Jared, his teammate. Naya grabbed his hand again. "We have to move now," she whispered. They turned and ran, the sound of boots and voices closing in behind them. But Theo wasn't afraid. Not anymore. For the first time, he wasn't just following orders. He was fighting for someone who had been forgotten. Someone who remembered him even when the world wanted her erased. And somewhere deep inside, he felt a quiet flame rise. Alarms screamed across the base. Steel doors locked down section after section. Red lights flashing like angry eyes. Theo pulled Naya down a maintenance tunnel, both of them running through cold metal and steam. Behind them, soldiers shouted through comms, scanning every level. They weren't looking for rebels anymore. They were hunting her. Naya held the glowing memory sphere close to her chest, its light pulsing in sync with her heartbeat. "We don't have much time," Theo whispered. "They'll block the hangars next." "I know a faster way," Naya replied. "But it's dangerous." They reached a vertical shaft, a narrow elevator hidden behind old panels. Theo looked down. It was a long fall. "We slide," she said. Grabbing the rails and jumping in, Theo followed without thinking. The wind rushing past his face as they dropped into the lower levels. They landed hard in a dusty cargo zone, filled with crates and broken machines above them. Boots thundered through the upper floor. For a moment, there was silence. Then Naya pointed toward an old shuttle bay, half covered in shadows. "It's still here," she said, surprised. The ship was old, sleek but dusty, with scratches and faded logos, a smuggler's vessel left behind when Earth seized the colony. Theo climbed inside, fingers flying over the console. He was trained to fly modern patrol crafts, but this was a relic. "Naya, power it," he said. She touched a panel, and the memory sphere glowed brighter. The ship hummed to life, its lights flickering, engines growling like an animal waking from sleep. Suddenly, the hangar doors lit up. "Unauthorized launch detected," a voice blared. Defense turrets on the ceiling turned toward them. "They'll shoot us down," Theo shouted. "Not if we jump into the fire ring," Naya said calmly. Theo blinked. "The asteroid belt?" She nodded. "It's the only path they won't follow." Theo's hands tightened on the controls. One mistake in the fire ring meant death. Thousands of sharp, spinning rocks, moving at impossible speeds. But they had no choice. "Hold on," he said, and hit the thrusters. The ship blasted forward, smashing through the hangar gate, just as bullets lit up the air behind them. A few shots clipped the wings, sparks flying, but they were airborne. The colony fell behind them like a fading memory. Ahead, space opened into blackness, stars, silence, and danger, and there it was, the fire ring, a giant asteroid belt wrapped around a dead planet, glowing with golden dust and fragments of ice. It looked beautiful and deadly. Theo gulped. "No turning back now." "Never was," Naya whispered. Gripping her seat, the ship dove into the ring. Rocks spun past the windows, some the size of buildings. Theo dodged left, right, down, barely missing a sharp chunk of metal. Naya kept her hand on the core, guiding energy to the engines with every movement. "Behind us," she shouted. A drone had followed, weaving through the chaos, its cannons glowing red. Theo jerked the ship sideways, letting a rock smash into the drone boom. Gone. But another came, then two more. "They're everywhere. They're risking the whole zone to get me," she said. "That's how badly they want this forgotten." Theo narrowed his eyes. "Not today." He flew lower, deeper into the densest part of the ring. One wrong move and they'd be crushed. But then Naya pointed. "There. A fracture in the field. It's a tunnel." Theo aimed the ship toward the narrow space between tumbling rocks. The walls around them glowed orange from friction. A massive asteroid passed so close it scratched the hull. Inside the tunnel, everything went quiet. The rocks spun slower here, almost floating. A pocket of calm inside a storm. Naya looked at Theo. "You're not just a soldier anymore," she said. "You're the only one who listened." Theo glanced at her. "I remembered you," he said. That's all it took. Suddenly, the ship broke through the other side of the ring into open space. No drones followed, no turrets tracked them. They were finally free. Theo let out a breath he didn't know he'd been holding. The stars stretched ahead like a road with no end. But their journey wasn't over yet. Naya looked down at the sphere. "I need to take this somewhere safe," she said. "There's a place," Theo replied. "An old moon base off the charts." "Then we go," she whispered. But in her eyes he saw something else. Not just survival. Hope. Hope that maybe, just maybe, their past wasn't lost forever. That the child she used to be and the boy who shared his sandwich still had a future. Together, the stolen ship hovered above a frozen moon. Its engines hissed in the cold silence, steam curling from its sides like breath in winter. Theo stared. At the surface below, a wide plain of cracked ice and shadows. No lights, no cities, just forgotten ground. "This moon's not on any maps anymore," he said. "Perfect," Naya replied. cradling the memory sphere like it was a newborn. It was a listening station once, Theo added. Now it's a graveyard. They landed near an ancient base, half buried under snow and metal. Rust had eaten the walls, and ice covered the windows, but as they stepped out, the memory sphere glowed stronger, as if the place still remembered her. Inside, darkness ruled. Theo lit a portable lamp, its soft beam cutting through the dust. Every step echoed through halls that hadn't heard a voice in years. Naya walked ahead, leading him through corridors only she seemed to understand. Finally, they reached a room shaped like a dome. Screens lined the walls, long dead. At the center stood an old alien terminal half-machine. Half stone, it pulsed faintly when Naya approached. She placed the memory sphere on its platform. The room brightened as golden light poured from the sphere. It danced across the walls like flames. The screens flickered alive. One by one, they filled with faces, alien faces, young and old, male and female, some glowing, some shadowed. They weren't speaking, but their eyes held stories, millions of them. Theo stepped back, stunned. What is this? Naya's voice trembled. The last living history of my people. Memories stored by those who were hunted, silenced, erased. She touched the console. The room began to hum. I'm uploading everything, she said. If I don't, this will all vanish when I do. Theo turned to her quickly. What do you mean when you do? Naya didn't answer right away. Then she looked at him, truly looked at him, and Theo's heart sank. The sphere was never just a storage device. She said, it's bonded to me. Built from my essence. To protect the past, I must give it everything I am. No, Theo whispered. Stepping closer, there has to be another way. She smiled, sad but calm. You gave me a second chance, she said. Now I give my people one. Theo clenched his fists. There has to be something else we can do. But the sphere was glowing brighter now. The room vibrated with energy and sorrow. Suddenly, a loud ping echoed from the console. A warning flashed across the screen. Incoming signal Earth Command. Theo's blood ran cold. They found us, Naya turned to him. There's a ship below this base. Hidden in the old tunnels, she said quickly. Use it. I'll hold them off here. Theo shook his head. I'm not leaving you. You have to, she said, walking closer, placing her hand on his cheek. I won't survive the upload, Theo. But you can survive, she added. You can carry the truth. The door behind them rattled. Soldiers were coming. Naya stepped back to the terminal. Golden threads of light wrapped around her, lifting her slightly above the ground. Her body began to fade, first her fingers, then her arms glowing and breaking into stardust. But her golden eyes never looked away from him. Remember me, she whispered. Not the way I ended, but the way we began. Theo turned and ran, heart tearing open. He sprinted down the tunnel she'd pointed to. Metal stairs, icy walls, darkness all around. But inside, his soul burned. He reached the lower hangar, found the hidden ship, a small craft covered in frost. It roared to life when he touched the controls, as if it had been waiting for him. As the ship lifted off, the base above shook. A wave of golden light burst into the sky like a beacon. From space, it looked like a star being born. But for Theo, it felt like a goodbye that would never stop. Echoing, he didn't cry. He flew through the cold stars, through the silence, through the pain. The memory chip now stored in the ship's core. And in his heart, her voice, her eyes, her promise. Theo sat alone in the cockpit, staring at the stars through the glass. His hands rested on the controls, but he didn't touch them. The ship moved on its own now, guided by silent programming, carrying a story the universe had tried to erase. Behind him, deep in the ship's core, the memory sphere pulsed softly. Its light no longer golden, but white, quiet, complete. He had flown for days without sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw her, standing under the willow tree, smiling at him like the world hadn't broken her, like she still believed in something. Naya was gone, But what she left behind was not. The ship arrived at a hidden station orbiting a black dwarf star. A rebel broadcast station, silent, old, forgotten. Theo docked and stepped inside with the memory core. His boots echoed through empty halls as he walked toward the control room. The broadcast system was ancient but functional. He connected the memory sphere to the uplink. A deep hum filled the station as the system came alive, screens flickering. With alien faces and golden eyes, this was it, the truth. Not just about Naya but all the others. Children taken, changed, hidden, people who had names, dreams, families. And lives before Earth labeled them as experiments. Theo hit the broadcast button. Across dozens of sectors, signals lit up, civilian channels, underground forums, resistance feeds. All of them now carried Naya's story, her childhood, her capture, her pain, her strength. And finally her choice. The reaction came fast, at first. Disbelief, then fury, then action. Across the colonies, people began speaking out. Others who had seen things, hidden things, guards, techs, doctors started sharing what they knew. And then came the names. More hybrid survivors who had hidden their blood. More voices rising. Naya had been the first to speak. But now she wasn't alone. Earth Command tried to deny everything. They called it enemy propaganda, a hoax, but the truth had already spread too far, and Theo? He didn't run, he stood. He recorded a message, standing in front of the old rebel banner. "This is Theo Ward," he said, voice firm. "I was a soldier, and I broke my oath, because I found something worth more than orders. A friend, a truth. A memory I wasn't supposed to keep." He uploaded her drawings, her voice, the photo of them as children, and at the end, he showed a simple image. Her smile under the willow tree. Months passed. A new coalition formed. One not ruled by Earth Command. The colonies demanded justice. Memorials were built on forgotten moons, and Naya's name was carved into the walls. Along with others like her, Theo visited that memorial one evening. The sky was dark, full of stars. He stood before her name, placed a small smooth stone below it, the same kind she used to collect as a child, and whispered, "I kept my promise," as he turned to leave. A voice called out behind him, "She knew you would." He turned sharply. It was a young girl, maybe 14, skin pale and eyes glowing faintly gold. She stepped forward shyly. "My name is Kale," she said. "She left me a message, Theo's." Heart thudded. Naya's voice returned, not in person, but in the next generation. She said if I ever felt safe again, I should find the boy who shared his sandwich. Kale added. He smiled slowly, kneeling to meet her eyes. "I'm right here," he said. "And you're safe now." Kale nodded, holding out a small necklace. It was made from earth pebbles. "Just like Nia's. She wanted you to have this." Theo took it gently, tears in his eyes. As the stars above shimmered, a soft wind passed through the trees nearby, and for a moment he imagined a whisper carried in the breeze. "You remembered." That's all I needed."